This is not an Apple Vision Pro. This is the Play for Dream MR headset, and I'm going to cover everything you need to know about it in this review. It is probably the highest end VR headset I've tried, and I've tried plenty. It has some 4K screens, so 4K screen per eye, which is great resolution, a lot of sharpness, great colors, and also it is very comfortable. So should you get the Play for Dream MR? Let's find out. So during my trip through Southeast Asia, I also visited China and Shanghai, and I was able to visit the offices of Play for Dreams or YVR, they're the same company. I was able to visit their office to try out the headset. It was great, I was welcomed in and got a full demo in a private room, which was great to just have all the time I need to test out the headset. Luckily, after some talking, I was also allowed to take this one home for testing. It is loaned, so I didn't get it permanently for free, but I did not get paid to make this review. There are some affiliate links down below, so if you do want to purchase it, that would really help me out, but I'm not forced to say anything. I do like some of these aspects, but it's definitely not a perfect headset, or not yet, depending on how you look at it. But there are definitely things to keep in mind. So yes, I got the headset for free, but this is not a paid review whatsoever. So first, let's tackle availability, since that's a common issue on Kickstarter. From what I've seen, the people who backed this on Kickstarter did actually receive it, so that's great. And they are actively shipping out the purchase headsets through wherever you want. So that's great to see they actually did ship out the Kickstarter units and are actively selling it. The team also confirmed to me that these are in mass production. So that's just great to see that this one is actually going, and it's not something which is stuck in pre-orders like some other headsets I've had in the past. So that's great to see. This is actually something you can order and get yourselves. It is priced very expensively. It is currently at $2,000, which is quite high. If this is worth it, that really depends on your use cases. If you just want to play a game or two, maybe something like the Quest 3 might be better. But this is a very sharp and very great headset with a lot of capabilities you might be interested in. So if you stick around, I will go over everything this has to offer, so you can make your own decision if this actually is worth it. So let's start out with probably the biggest selling point, the displays. They are 4K micro OLEDs per eye, and that's very similar or maybe even the same displays as Apple uses in their Apple Vision Pro. So that's great. They got 10-bit HDR color, 90Hz refresh rates. They got, I think, acclaimed 92% of the P3 color space, so that's amazing. And also they are color calibrated out of the box for a Delta E under 3, which means they are also fairly color accurate. So again, these are some great screens and they perform amazingly. The brightness isn't blinding or anything, but honestly I haven't had any issues with brightness throughout my experience, so that's really great. Also important for the visuals are the lenses. These are some quite alright pancake lenses. They are quite sharp, but they do have a quite narrow sweet spot, so you really have to pull down the headset far enough in order to see everything sharp. That was something which I had to get used to. I had to loosen the back strap of it, pull the headset lower than I expected, and then it was all sharp to me. So keep this in mind when you try it, that you pull down the headset far enough on your face to see everything sharp. That's just something that probably is embedded into the design. You also can't rotate the face straps, they are locked into place right here. Of course you can make it wider or tighter, but it is not possible to rotate these at all. So that's something to keep in mind. Personally, I like to wear mine quite low and then have this one a little bit higher, since there already is a curve in this as well. There's one downside of these lenses, and that is that there is quite some internal glare. This was something which I did not expect and find quite disappointing. Whenever there's a black or very dark background, you do see a lot of reflection inside of the lenses, so just a bigger picture of whatever is there. And the biggest example for this is the startup screen. It is just the Play for Dream logo on top of a black background, and you really saw a double picture of that, which was not nice at all. Luckily, in actual content, I did not actually notice this at all. So when playing games or when watching videos, I never really noticed this. So it's just something to keep in mind, that if you really need that contrast without any glare, this might not be the perfect pick, but for content, I was absolutely fine with it. There also is a little bit of light leakage next to my face, since my temples are quite flat. This wasn't noticeable. It was way worse on the Pico 4 when that came out with the default facial interface. So again, that was not a deal breaker for me when actually being in content. Only when I was really looking for it, I actually saw that. The last thing about the displays and the lenses themselves are that there is a little bit of distortion on the sides of my eyes. So on the corner of my eyes I do see a little bit of warping. Again, this is something, if you really look out for it, you do see it. And it's sometimes is noticeable. For example, I did notice it in the Steam VR home environment that it was there. But in games or videos, I don't notice it, so that's fine. The FOV also isn't too big. I think it's smaller than the Quest 3. I have not been able to test them side by side. I will do that in the future, so definitely check out the pinned comment if I have any updates on that. So next, it says it in the name, this is a mixed reality headset. It has camera pass-through and it is decent. I wouldn't call it as good as, for example, the Quest 3. It is sharper than the Quest 3, so that's nice. But the color reproduction isn't there. Luckily, you can customize anything on this headset display-wise. You can change the resolution of the screens, you can change the refresh rate, you can enable and disable the eye-tracked foveated rendering. I'm not sure why I would just always keep it enabled, since it's better visually and also it has better performance and better battery life. So pretty much always keep the foveated rendering enabled. You can also change the mixed reality settings, so you can optimize it for latency or for visuals. So that's a great setting. So if you're moving around a lot, you can put this to latency to have the best latency possible. And if you're playing something which is mostly static, standing still, you can optimize it for quality to, well, see a lot better. You can also change it between two modes of the depth. You can have the best visuals, which is a bit more flat, and you can have the best depth, which is more depth accurate. So that's great to give that options there. So it's great to see that there are options there to change these things. Sadly, there wasn't one setting which was good enough to walk throughout the house in dark areas, bright areas, etc. For the color reproduction and the depth of the mixed reality headsets, it did cause a little bit of headache and nausea, so it's not perfectly there, but it is fairly depth accurate. There isn't a lot of bending around objects, for example around your hands, but it's not up to par with the Quest 3 for the depth and the actual camera colors. So this is something to definitely keep in mind. It is not up there yet, but it is good enough and it is usable. If you're just standing inside of a room and playing a game there, it's completely fine to have this mixed reality. But it's definitely not perfect. Luckily for me, I don't use mixed reality that much. I use it when developing stuff, and I also use it whenever there's something static. For example, the ping pong app in mixed reality is fine. And within there, I didn't find it distracting at all. So it is again playable, but it wasn't an outstanding feature, which I was kind of hoping for. The performance side also definitely is fine. This is running the XR2 Plus Gen 2. So that's a step up over the XR2 Gen 2 found in the Quest 3 and the Pico 4 Ultra. So this has faster GPU and CPU performance than that. It has 16 GB of RAM and 512 GB of storage. So the performance is definitely there. If you combine that with the built-in eye tracking, it uses foveated rendering with your eyes, so it only renders very sharply where you're looking at it, and your peripheral vision is a bit more blurry since you're not able to see it either way. So it has better raw performance and also better optimized performance. So this thing is really great for gaming, for the best visuals possible, and also still a decent amount of battery life. Of course, the battery life isn't perfect. You will get between 2.5 and 3.5 hours of battery life depending on what you do. So you won't be gaming for the full day, but it does charge quite fast. So the battery life is alright, and it charges at 32 watts, so that's one of the faster headsets I've actually used. And they include a Gen charger of 45 watts, which is overkill for the headset. I haven't seen that before. Usually the charger is rated for the headset, but you can actually charge another device next to this headset on the included charger, and it is gallium nitride, so that's a really performance charger, so that's definitely a welcome bonus for this headset. Next up, something very important to me for these headsets is the comfort. If something isn't comfortable to use, I basically won't use it even if it looks better. And luckily that's really nice for this. I was hoping for the head strap to be a bit more customizable, so you can put it up or down, or a top strap would be nice. But this is just one set strap. The battery is in the back, so that's really nice for weight distribution. This is actually quite comfortable to wear. You can just put it on, and again, the weight distribution is quite nice. You can just hold it like this, which is definitely not the case for all headsets. The facial interface is nice. You can remove it to clean it. You can remove the full facial interface as well. So comfort-wise, this is fine. I can actually use this for an extended amount of time without any comfort issues whatsoever. Of course, it might get a bit warm, but not to the point where it's uncomfortable. So I've been using this for some games and some Steam VR for probably over an hour without anything. I didn't see any of the really tight bands around my face. It's just nice to use, so that's really welcome. Also, because it doesn't have a top strap, that's one of the benefits. It's really easy to show to people. You just put it on, tight in the back, and usually it's ready and set up to go. So that's something great when you want to showcase a lot of people. Like I often showcase my work to other people which I developed, and I just want to show people VR. Then this is a great headset to just have them try it for the first time or the first few times. It's just very easy to set up like that. One thing which was a bit confusing is that the charging port is at the bottom. I'm not sure why they do it, because now if you have to charge the headset, you have to put it upside down with normal chargers. And I personally would just like to put it normally on the table. So if it would be at the back or potentially at the top of the strap, for me that actually would be better. I'm not sure why they put it at the bottom, but it probably has some kind of reason. But that's definitely something to keep in mind. And now something which is probably asked a lot, are there any games for this headset? Well, yes, there is a content library on the store, so you can run them natively. This is not the best. The games that are supported are very limited, and the games that do run, even paid ones, sometimes have bugs. And for me, the content in general wasn't amazing. So definitely keep that in mind. Hopefully they will be improving this on the future. I do know that they're working actively on their SDK to get more developers in there, but the content library is just very small. That's something to keep in mind. Luckily, the rescue here is SteamVR. They have their own streamer, and you can also use ALVR to stream wirelessly over Wi-Fi 7 or wired via USB-C to this headset. And this is honestly one of the greatest features of this headset. You can set it to 10-bit H.265 or even a 10-bit AV1, and this looks amazing. It is great to have a PCVR headset which HDR supports and these micro OLED displays. Playing Half-Life Alyx on this or Beat Saber just feels really, really nice. So content-wise, you got the whole SteamVR library there, which is great. And whenever you want to play a very simple game, they might be ported natively to run. But for now, for SteamVR, this is one of the better headsets for sure. For me, the streamer app did stop working. I'm not sure why exactly. But once that is updated, I will put it in the pinned comment below, so all the updates are right there. Next to SteamVR, it's also great to watch any movies on this. And this could be like 180 or 360 videos, but also things like flat screen videos on a huge screen are great because the resolution and the colors of these screens are just really good. So if you want to watch some movies on here, maybe even 3D movies, it is really enjoyable to watch them on these. There are some media apps on there which allow you to stream media. For example, DOVR is on here on the App Store. You can download it for free and enjoy a lot of content already. And they also have included content, and they also have included apps if you want to stream your own videos to it, which again is very enjoyable. It looks really good and it's quite comfortable to wear this for a longer time. So for example, for a movie, that's definitely a recommendation. So if you're really into movies, this also again might be worth a try. So now we move on to something which is also important. Is the tracking good? If this is not good, that's again a deal breaker, especially for games. The headset tracking itself, like moving around the house, is really good. Even in low light, the tracking is fine. You won't notice any stutters. It is very smooth. When I walked up 3 stairs and walked down again, the content was placed exactly where I left it. So walking around with this thing is fine. You can lock content somewhere, walk away, come back, and it's still there. Tracking of the headset is good. The controllers sadly aren't as good. As you can see, there is no tracking ring wherever. So it uses some infrared lights. Because of this, when the lights are occluded, for example, my hands are quite big and sometimes my thumb probably covers them, that can definitely cause issues. At the moment, they do not keep tracking if these are occluded, so they will stop tracking, or if the controller is outside of the view of the headset. After a very short duration, it will stop tracking and only use the rotation without updating the actual position. This was very frustrating, and for example, when putting the Rush demo on their headsets, this didn't allow me to complete the tutorial. And also for Beat Saber, if the controls are tracked fine, I can even play Expert Plus games on here. So latency is fine and the accuracy is also fine. But it's just if they are occluded, that can definitely cause issues. I did contact their team and they're pushing out an update at the end of May or the start of June to fix this and use the IMUs, so the acceleration sensors in here, for a longer time. So it will keep estimating your tracking just like the Quest 3 does. And this should really improve the responsiveness and the tracking quality of these controllers. So that will be in a future update, and I can't comment on that. Don't buy your hardware based on what is promised, but they should fix this quite quickly. Also on these controllers, they are very basic. They are very similar to any Quest, Pico, whatever controller. 2 buttons and a joystick on the front, 2 menu buttons, grip buttons, trigger buttons, that's it. The battery life is fine, and it charges via USB-C, so you won't be messing with any batteries in this. And it also makes them fairly light, so if you want a light controller, this is very nice. Now onto hand tracking. This is supported on the headset and you can use it throughout the whole UI, so that's great. The hand tracking itself is fine if you want to watch movies or interact, pick up some stuff in 3D, then it's absolutely fine, but it's not very fast. So if you move fast with your hand, if you want to throw things in a game, this might not be tracked perfectly. Also, if there's occlusion, for example, if you put your fingers together, this also isn't tracked too accurately. So the hand tracking isn't as good as some of the competitors, but it is good enough to get around the UI, and if you just use this for watching movies, this is a great choice. And lastly, something I'm a big fan of, both for performance and interactions, is eye tracking. So this has eye tracking built in, and it can, well, check what you're looking at. You can use this to render those things very sharply, or you can use this for interactions. Currently, there are not a lot of demos out there that actually support the interactions, so you might not be able to enjoy the full extent of eye tracking at this moment, but I think in the future this will be used a lot more in games, applications, more than just optimizing the performance. So this is something that I personally am a big favor that it is in here, and this will make sure this headset is a lot more relevant in a few years as well, because it has this quite solid eye tracking. It is quite responsive and accurate, so that's definitely a good thing. Now there also are some gimmicky features, like it has the mixed reality capture or camera capture or whatever. By default, if you press the top button once, it will launch the camera and you can record something around you. And this is a full 180 degrees VR 3D view. And actually, it looks quite good. If you're rewatching these, it actually looks pretty much the same as if you're just looking through the mixed reality pass-through. So if you're a fan of this, it works. Personally, I tried it once, thought it was fun, never used it again. So for me, this is not something I would buy the headset for. If you do have a use case for this or want to share it to other people who have something similar, it is something nice if you want to record that 3D depth accurate footage. So that's there, I guess. You also got this dial right here, just like the Apple Vision Pro. By default, this changes the immersion. So if you're watching a movie, you can blend in the 3D environment around you. Personally, I haven't really used it that much, and I changed it to just being a volume slider. So that's also possible. You can actually change the actions of these buttons. By default, this was the immersion and this was the camera. I did not like that at all. It didn't even have a way to change the volume, and you couldn't put the headset to standby with any of the buttons on the headsets. Luckily, you can change this. In the UI, you can go to the interaction menu. Here, change it. I now got that a single press is a standby, a double press is an action menu. For here, a single press is the menu, and if you slide it, it is the volume rocker. So it is great that you can customize this, and this is one of the bigger powers of it being an Android headset, that you have these customizations. So that was really nice to see that this is actually a possibility in here. Another thing is the software. While the software, it does run, it is relatively stable, there are quite some issues or interesting things I wouldn't have done myself. For example, there are some depth issues. The cancel button, or in the story review icon, it has a different depth than the actual UI. So it's not all rendered into a single plane. It is a bit deeper or a bit more close towards you, which might be spatial or whatever, but it's really off-putting and I really don't like that way of using depth. Also, it is allowed to use 3D icons for the apps on the home screen. And while this is nice, if it is implemented well, it looks really good because you have a window into the actual 3D world. When it is implemented poorly, there's stuff popping out of the icons and added just a mismatched depth. And for me, this was really not enjoyable to see. So if it would be just a cutout where you can look into for an app, that's great. But I would like to have a bit more limits on what is possible here. And also a bit less of these depth issues. For example, the reviews are different. and the cancel button has a different depth. I personally just don't like to see this. If it is rendered flat on the UI, just being at the same layer is, for me, probably the best. So I hope this is something they will change in the future. They are actively updating this headset and the firmware, so it's good to see they are updating it, but that's something to definitely keep in mind. This is not a final version of the actual experience. They are constantly iterating and improving it. Personally, I don't mind since I mainly am within the apps, but it is sometimes still a bit of a hiccup that you do see these issues in the UI, for example, and the software updates is quite hidden away. It was quite hard to find the option to change the buttons. That only was found out today. And it also took me some time to figure out where I could exactly update the firmware of the headset, like the software and the OS. That took me quite a while to find. So I think there are some optimizations to be done within the system menu as well, within the settings. But these are minor things. All the settings are there. You might just have to look a bit further for them. And last but not least, how is it to develop for this? This is a very short segment, but I do think it is important because you do want to have a lot of games on here in the future. The development is quite alright. Once you're set up, I made a small setup guide on my development channel. You can develop for this headset relatively easily with tools like Unity, Unreal Engine, or doing it yourself with OpenXR. They said they don't have a Unity OpenXR plugin yet. This is not that high of a priority for them, but I would like to see this in the future because this makes porting even easier to get existing apps onto this headset. So hopefully they fix it in the future. And until then, you can use your own plugin within Unity or Unreal to get it up and running and port your projects to the headset itself. So the development experience isn't that bad. It did take a while for their developer team to respond to me for an issue with their SDK. So the support is not perfect, but I did actually get a response that's better than some companies like a big company named Meta, which doesn't have very good developer support. But all the tools are there, so it is alright to develop for. If you want to check out more on the development side, you can head over to my development channel and check more about it there. So now the conclusion, should you purchase this headset at 2,000 euros? It is a big price. And personally, I don't use it for movies enough to actually make that purchase myself. It is a lot less than the Apple Vision Pro. So if you just want to use movie watching as an example, this is better value than the Apple Vision Pro, not gonna lie. But it is still a big price. Personally, I'm not watching that many movies in VR, although after getting this one, I did watch more movies. So it is definitely more enjoyable than doing it on a Pico or a Quest headset. It is more enjoyable to watch movies or 3D content on the Play for Dream MR. So for me, this was a bit of an eye-opener that I actually did like watching movies on here, but it wasn't enough to fully justify the cost, especially with the limited amount of content on here. Of course, Steam VR is supported, but personally, I just like to go to my living room, put on the headset and just start playing. So for me, this ease of use is very important. But again, you might have different use cases. If you just play PCVR content and want to stream it wirelessly using Wi-Fi 7, this is very tempting to purchase. Just because the quality of the display is so good, it has Wi-Fi 7 support for that high bitrate video, it supports AV1 for good encoding, and it is just very comfortable and light to use for just some playing sessions in PCVR. So for some people, yeah, this might be worth it. Is it worth it for you? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Are you interested in purchasing that one? Did you pre-order one maybe? Let me know, I'm looking forward to it. Also, if there are any other footages you might want to see, if you want to see a comparison of through the lenses between this one and the Quest 3, if you want to see more comparison videos with a Pico headset, definitely also let me know. I would be looking forward to tell you more about it, and I hope to see you in those videos.